Good evening, my friend. You've made it through another long day, and now the world quiets around you. The hum of traffic fades, the lights dim, and the weight of everything you've carried begins to lift. Here, in this soft space between day and dream, you are safe, you are warm, and you are not alone. Tonight, I'm going to take you on a journey that spans thousands of years. Through heat and stone, through sandstorms and skyscrapers, through the cries of ancient priests and the silence of modern morning. We'll walk through the blinding sun of ancient Egypt. We'll step inside the blood-soaked heart of a forgotten temple. We'll feel the beat of humanity's first drums echoing across the earth. And finally, we'll stand in the shadow of a city that touches the sky, Manhattan. But first, let me tell you something incredible. Under the temple of the feathered serpent, an ancient pyramid built in a forgotten city, archaeologists discovered more than 200 human skeletons buried in precise geometric patterns, each one a sacrifice. Their bodies laid out with mathematical care beneath a temple aligned with the stars, as if death itself was part of some grand celestial machine. The people who built this place believed blood kept the universe spinning, and they built monuments of terrifying beauty to prove it. But let's not rush there just yet. First, let the warmth of the fire surround you. Breathe in slowly and come with me to the very beginning. A day in ancient Egypt, the kingdom of sun and sand. What would it feel like to wake up in ancient Egypt, not as a pharaoh, not as a priest, but as you, a common soul, just for one day? No alarm clock, no phone buzzing, just the light. A blinding golden flood of it pouring through the gaps in your reed hut. There are no curtains, no glass windows, no air conditioning humming in the background, just the hot breath of the desert sun. It's early, maybe 6 in the morning, but already the temperature has climbed to 32 degrees Celsius. You sit up in bed. Your skin is sticky with sweat. The air is thick, heavy, unmoving. You're wearing a linen tunic, simple, scratchy, and soaked through. It clings to your body like damp parchment. There is no sunscreen, no running water, no electric fan, only the faint hope that a breeze might pass through. If you are wealthy, very wealthy, you might own a clay jar of scented oil, a luxury rubbed onto the skin to protect against the sun. But for most people, the only shade you'll find is what you can carry with you, the Nile and the ritual of the morning. Outside your home, the ground is already hot beneath your bare feet. Stones have absorbed the sun like sponges, radiating it back in waves. Shade is rare. Trees are rarer. But nearby, you hear something. Water, the Nile. It cuts through the desert like a vein of life. To the Egyptians, it is sacred, a gift from the gods. To you, it's also your bath, your laundry, your drinking source, and a danger. The water glistens, green and brown. You step in carefully. It's cool at first, refreshing. Around you, others are bathing too. Children, elders, farmers, mothers scrubbing clothes against smooth river stones. You lower your body into the current. Muddy silt clings to your skin. You try not to think of crocodiles. You try not to breathe in the scent, a mix of algae, decay, and life. You emerge dripping and clean, but not safe. The Nile, for all its beauty, is home to parasites, insects, and worse. But it's all you have, and for now, it is enough. Breakfast of the Nile people. Back in your hut, someone hands you your breakfast, a coarse piece of bread made from barley or emmer wheat. You bite into it and feel grit. It's not your imagination. The bread is full of sand. The grindstones used to mill the flour leave tiny fragments of quartz in the dough. You chew carefully, trying not to damage your teeth, though over time everyone does. Egyptian skulls from this period show worn enamel, cracked molars, because the sand isn't just in your bread, it's in your bed, your clothes, your hair. Still, the bread fills you. Alongside it, a thick, murky beer, more like a barley smoothie than anything you know today. It's warm, bitter, cloudy, but safer than the water. This is your fuel, your armor against the sun, because now it's time to work. Work beneath the eye of Ra. You are not free. You don't clock in at an office, but you're part of a system, a machine, and your body is the tool. You lift, you carry, you dig. If you're a farmer, you trudge through black mud, sowing seeds where the Nile has receded. If you're a laborer, you haul stones, push carts, or climb scaffolds in the blazing heat. There is no overtime, no break room, no sick days. Your sweat is the currency of survival. And if you complain, if you mutter that this is unfair, you risk punishment, because the pharaoh is not just a ruler, he is a god. To question him is to question Ma'at, the balance of the universe. The eyes of the gods are watching. You've never seen the pharaoh, but his image is everywhere, painted on walls, carved into stone, towering in statues. You see him riding a golden bark down the Nile, guarded by priests, flanked by banners. You bow when he passes, even if he doesn't see you, because the gods see everything. The scribes tell you that the pharaoh is Horus in the flesh. His will is divine, his law eternal. And so you return to work, because to stop is to fail the gods. To fail the gods is to invite chaos, and chaos is death. Evening comes, but the heat remains. As the sun sinks below the horizon, the heat does not fade. Your skin is still burning, your muscles trembling, and still there are chores to do. You collect firewood, you mend nets, you prepare more bread for tomorrow's dawn. The sand, by now, is in your ears, your eyes, your soul. It grinds in your joints like gravel. There are no mattresses, no silence, only the wind howling over the desert and the faint buzz of insects swarming toward the warmth of your body. You fall asleep on packed earth, dreaming not of glory or conquest, but of rain. And yet, despite the pain, despite the sun, the sand, the hunger, there is beauty here. The music of the river, the laughter of children splashing in the shallows, the scent of lotus in the market stalls, the hum of prayers offered at dawn. The people believe in gods, in purpose, in something more. They love, they mourn, they build, and thousands of years from now, the monuments they raised in their agony will still stand. The temple of the feathered serpent, blood beneath the stones. Welcome back, my friend. You are still with me, drifting gently across the fabric of time, your body relaxed, your thoughts untangled. And now we travel further, to a place much stranger than the Egypt you just left. We are no longer in a land of gold and sun gods. We are in Teotihuacan, a city of shadows and breath, of obsidian and smoke, of whispers buried under stone. It is the year 200, not 200 AD, not 200 BC, just 200. There are no names carved here that we can read, no kings whose words survive the dust, and yet they left us something, a temple, unlike any the world had ever seen, a temple not made for comfort, but for awe and fear. The Avenue of the Dead. Imagine walking down a wide boulevard. The sky is gray with distant ash. The path beneath your feet stretches straight as a blade, an ancient road known now as the Avenue of the Dead. On both sides, pyramids rise like mountains, geometrically perfect, cold, silent. Thousands once walked here, heads bowed, feet bare. And at the end of the avenue, the temple of the feathered serpent. It's smaller than the sun pyramid, lower than the moon pyramid, but it's the only one with eyes. Stone serpent heads line its stairways, mouths open, fangs bared, feathers flowing from their necks, not one or two, but hundreds, watching, waiting. A ritual engine. This wasn't just a temple, it was a machine, a cosmic device constructed to keep the universe alive. And to do that, it needed blood, not metaphor, real blood, from real people. Under the foundations of the temple, archaeologists found over 200 human remains, men, women, and children, their arms bound, their skulls cracked, their bones arranged in circles, squares, and stars. This was not random, it was geometry, a sacred equation written in flesh. They died not for punishment, but for purpose, to please the gods, to stabilize the world, to give their last breath so the sun might rise again. Who were they? We do not know their names. They left no tombs, no treasures, no songs. Were they enemies taken in war? Volunteers chosen in devotion? Slaves, servants, strangers? Their bodies were placed with care, offered obsidian blades, jade beads, even shells from distant oceans. This wasn't murder, it was sacrifice, a gift, one that echoed across empires. Because Teotihuacan wasn't just a city, it was a message. And the feathered serpent was the signature at the bottom. The god with feathers and fangs. The feathered serpent, known to later generations as Quetzalcoatl, was no ordinary god. He was the union of opposites, sky and earth, wisdom and death, feathers for flight, fangs for hunger. He represented rebirth, civilization, and the terrible price of balance. The temple was covered in his image, rows upon rows of serpent heads and seashell eyes. His body woven into the stone like veins. To worship him was to accept a truth, that beauty and terror were the same thing, a theater of power. The sacrifices were not hidden, they were staged. Crowds gathered, drums thundered, priests chanted, and beneath the rising sun, blood spilled onto steps that glowed like fire. This was not cruelty for cruelty's sake. It was political theater, a performance of control, of obedience. Imagine yourself among the crowd, your heart pounding with the beat of the drums. You do not cheer, you do not cry, you simply watch, because the message is clear. Order demands sacrifice, and you are not exempt. Tunnel beneath the temple. In 2003, a hidden tunnel was found beneath the temple, sealed for almost 2,000 years. Inside, they discovered something incredible. Walls painted with liquid mercury, floors lined with reflective mica, sculptures and offerings laid in symmetrical precision. It was as if the priests had recreated the universe underground, above the heavens, below the underworld, and here, at the center, a passage between the two. The tunnel wasn't just a place, it was a journey, a ritual, perhaps the most sacred of all. The cosmic clock. Everything in Teotihuacan was aligned to the stars. The temple, the avenue, the city itself, angled to the path of the sun, the rise of Venus, the pulse of the cosmos. This was a city built not just with stone, but with time. Sacrifice wasn't random, it was scheduled, coordinated, celestially approved. A heartbeat in sync with the sky. They didn't just worship the stars, they mirrored them. And then silence. For hundreds of years, Teotihuacan flourished, a city of over 100,000 people, larger than London at the time, richer than Rome, and then, around 550 CE, it ended. A fire, a collapse, a silence. The temple was burned, its god forgotten, its streets emptied. Why? No one knows. Rebellion, famine, drought. Or maybe the people simply had enough. Enough blood, enough order, enough fear. The stones remained, but the soul drifted. A memory carved in stone. Now, all that's left is dust, tourists, and bones. But as you lie here, still and calm, you can still feel the heartbeat, the rhythm of ancient drums, the weight of belief. The feathered serpent sleeps, but the stones remember, and you do too. The first sound, when humans found rhythm. Still with me? You're safe, wrapped in silence. But tonight, even the silence has a heartbeat, because now we go back, farther than Egypt, farther than pyramids or temples or fire-lit cities. We go to a time before history, before language, when the first humans huddled together and made a sound, a pulse, a rhythm, a drum, a fire, a circle, and a hollow log. Picture it. Somewhere in Africa, 30,000 years ago, the air is cool, the night endless. A fire burns low. A child picks up a hollow log and taps it with a stick. Then again and again, a pattern, a beat. And suddenly, others join in. Feet stomp, hands clap, hearts align. They do not have words for joy or fear, but they can feel them together. This is the first language, before writing, before kings, the sound of belonging. The drum as messenger. As humanity spreads across the earth, the drum travels too. In Africa, great talking drums send messages across villages. They mimic the tones of spoken language, carrying greetings, warnings, poems. In the jungles, in the deserts, on the coasts, the drum becomes a bridge between people, between spirits, between worlds. When someone is born, they drum. When someone dies, they drum. The pulse is constant, the meaning endless. The drum and the divine. The drum is more than a tool, it's a portal. In Australia, the elders use clapping sticks and rhythmic chants to speak with ancestors. In the Arctic, shamans beat flat-hide drums in frozen silence, drumming themselves into trance, into transformation. In West Africa, the djembe is carved from sacred trees, stretched with animal skin, and said to hold three spirits, the tree, the animal, and the drummer. To strike it is not to make music, it is to call the old powers, the invisible ones, the pulse of war and worship. As civilizations rise, so does the drum's power. In ancient Mesopotamia, temple drums beat as offerings are made to gods. In Egypt, frame drums accompany funerals, guiding souls beyond the veil. In China, giant war drums roll like thunder before battle, terrifying enemies before the first sword is drawn. In Rome, soldiers march to the tympanum. In medieval Europe, kettle drums thunder in cathedrals and on killing fields. Every culture hears it differently, but all understand its truth. The drum does not lie. Colonial silence and resistance. Then came ships, and with them chains. The Atlantic slave trade tried to strip people of language, of home, of memory, but they could not take the drum. On plantations, drumming was often banned because it frightened the masters. Too loud, too unified, too free, but still it survived. In code, in feet, in hands on tables and chests and skin. Resistance had rhythm, freedom had a beat, and it echoed into every corner of music to come. The drum becomes the world. In the Americas, the drum dances through samba parades in Brazil, through the heartbeat of the Caribbean, through the blues halls of the South. In India, the tabla weaves divine stories in every tap. In the Middle East, the darbuka guides belly dancers with hypnotic waves. In Japan, the thunder of the taiko stirs spirits in temples and stages alike. Each drum is a history, a memory, a soul, carried not in books, but in sound. The birth of the drum kit. Fast forward to the 19th century. In the theaters of New Orleans, military drummers combine bass, snare, cymbals, anything they can reach. One man, one throne, many voices. By 1909, the first bass drum pedal is patented. The modern drum kit is born, no longer just sacred, now also show-stopping. In the jazz clubs of the 1920s, drummers are stars. By the 1960s, in rock and roll, they are gods. The drums go electric, then digital. But the purpose? Still the same. To hold the heart of the song, to speak without words. Digital drums and the infinite beat. In 1980, a small gray box changed everything. The Roland TR-808. With its deep boom and sharp snaps, it becomes the foundation of hip-hop, house, techno, and more. Now, a single beat can loop forever. A drum can be programmed, perfected. And yet, the hand still matters. The soul still listens. In studios and bedrooms, on stages and street corners, the drum lives on, not as noise, but as memory. The drum and you. Even now, in your quiet room, there is rhythm, your breath, your heartbeat, the gentle twitch of a toe beneath your blanket, all drums, all reminders that you are alive and connected to everyone who ever tapped a log in firelight, who danced in dust, who mourned with rhythm, who found power in pulse. The drum is not music, it is the sound of being human, and you, dear friend, are part of that eternal beat. The island that reached for the sky. You're still here, wrapped in stillness, gently drifting between the pages of time. You've seen the sands of Egypt. You've stood before gods who demanded blood. You've listened to the heartbeat of ancient drums. And now it's time to rise, to lift your eyes, to watch a city stretch toward the stars. Welcome to Manhattan, not the Manhattan of yellow taxis and blinding billboards, but the one before, the one that was quiet and low, a strip of land, of granite and hills, surrounded by rivers that shimmered like silver. This was a place of potential and ambition, and soon the world would know its name, the grid and the rock. In 1811, New York made a decision to become something more. A grid was drawn neatly, relentlessly over forest and hill. The plan ignored nature. It ignored rivers and rocks. It said, "Here we will build." Underneath the island, a spine of granite waited, hard, immovable, perfect for support and weight. But that weight would take time, because at first Manhattan grew not upward, but outward. Row houses lined the streets. Cobblestone echoed underfoot. Church spires reached timidly toward the sky. The tallest building in the city, a church, Trinity Church, rising above a world still shaped by horses and wind. A city preparing to leap. As decades passed, Manhattan changed. The streets grew louder, the buildings denser, the people hungrier, but something was missing. Height. The sky remained untouched, because climbing it was dangerous, until 1852. That year, a man named Elisha Otis stepped onto a platform inside a public hall. He rose into the air, then cut the rope holding him up. The crowd gasped, but he did not fall. His invention, a safety brake, meant elevators were no longer death traps. And suddenly, the top floors weren't empty anymore. They were valuable. Otis had unlocked the heavens, the skeleton of steel. Next came steel. In the 1880s, architects discovered that iron and brick could no longer carry the weight of their dreams. So they turned to something stronger. Steel. It didn't crumble. It didn't crack. And with it, they could build not walls, but skeletons, frames, structures that could stretch high without collapsing under their own mass. The first steel frame buildings changed everything. The ground no longer limited the future. Now, the sky was the only boundary, and New York, it had no interest in limits. The race begins. By the 1890s, height had become a contest. Corporations, newspapers, banks, each wanted the tallest, the boldest, the most unforgettable silhouette. The World Building, the Singer Building, the Metropolitan Life Tower. One by one they rose, and then came the Woolworth Building, Gothic, ornate, reaching nearly 800 feet into the sky, so tall it earned the nickname Cathedral of Commerce. But this was only the beginning. The 1920s were roaring, and Manhattan was ready to roar back. The Art Deco ascent between 1929 and 1931, something extraordinary happened. 3 towers, 3 dreams, 3 declarations of power. The first, the Bank of Manhattan Trust Building. Simple, modern, strong. The second, the Chrysler Building, with its silver crown spiked like sunlight, a temple to motion, to cars, to speed. And then the Empire State Building, built in just over a year, 102 stories, more than 200 feet, the tallest building in the world, a monument to ambition, to resilience, to scale. But beneath the steel and glass, the world trembled, because while New York rose, the Great Depression had begun, and many of these towers stood half empty, shining, but silent. After the war, glass and power, World War II changed everything. When the dust settled, the world wanted simplicity, function, and so Manhattan shifted. Out went gargoyles and cornices. In came glass, the United Nations headquarters, Lever House, the Seagram Building, minimalist, box-like, pure. Skyscrapers became corporate statements, not just homes for ambition, but symbols of control. Each pane of glass reflected the new world order, cold, precise, modern, and at the southern tip of the island, a new idea began to form, an idea so massive it would reshape the skyline again. The Twins, the World Trade Center, 2 towers, identical, titanic, planned in the 1960s, built in the 70s. At over 1,260 feet tall, they were the tallest in the world for a time, but not everyone loved them. Some said they were too plain, too mechanical, too alien, but others saw them for what they were, mirrors to the future. They stood above Manhattan like guardians or sentinels, watching, waiting. Inside them, offices, shops, a restaurant in the clouds. From the top, you could see the curve of the earth, the world beneath your feet, the fall when the sky caved in. You're still with me, safe, calm, cradled by time. The story continues, but now we slow down, we lower our voices, because some moments deserve more silence than sound. We're in New York City, early morning, September 11th, 2001. The sky is clear, unusually blue, the kind of morning that makes the city sparkle. People wake, they pour coffee, they lace shoes, they kiss children goodbye, and then the sky splits. The unthinkable. At 8:46 a.m., a plane strikes the North Tower of the World Trade Center. 17 minutes later, a second plane hits the South Tower. At first, no one understands. Was it an accident? A mistake? And then, the truth. Terror. Live on screens in real time. The world watches the towers burn. Glass raining down. Smoke billowing upward. People trapped. Firefighters climbing. Sirens crying. And then the South Tower falls. In less than 10 seconds, 110 stories crumble into ash. The North Tower follows. A city gasps. A world mourns. It is not just steel and concrete that falls. It is belief, security, the illusion of safety, ash and silence. The dust cloud rolls through Manhattan like a wave. It covers everything. People, cars, storefronts, trees. The city stops. No traffic, no laughter, no answers. Phones go silent. Hearts break. Thousands are gone. In a moment. Fathers, mothers, sisters, lovers, firefighters who ran in, strangers who held hands, workers who never saw it coming. The towers fall, and the world tilts. Ground Zero. In the days that follow, the site is renamed, not the World Trade Center, but Ground Zero. It is a wound, open, smoking, endless. Volunteers arrive from everywhere, digging with bare hands, hoping, searching. Some look for survivors, others just for something to hold on to. A shoe, a photograph, a name, the weight of grief. For months, the air smells of fire, of concrete, of something sacred and scorched. New Yorkers pin photos to walls. Have you seen him? Missing? Please call. But phones don't ring, and loved ones don't come home. The grief is too large for words, too loud for silence. So the city does what it must. It breathes, it weeps, and it begins to remember. The conversation of rebuilding. How do you rebuild on ground that still trembles with sorrow? How do you honor the dead without turning tragedy into theater? In 2003, architect Daniel Libeskind wins the design competition for a new tower. He calls it the Freedom Tower, a height of 1,076 feet, symbolizing the year of American independence. It's not just a number, it's a message. We fell, but we stand. The memorial. Before the tower rises, something else takes shape. Two square voids, exactly where the original towers once stood. Fountains pour water into them endlessly. Names are etched into bronze, not alphabetically, but relationally, each name placed beside friends, co-workers, spouses who were together that day. It is the largest man-made waterfall in North America, but the loudest thing there is silence. Visitors lean over the edges, run fingers over names. Some cry, some whisper, some simply stand. And remember, One World Trade Center. In 2014, the new tower opens, not as Freedom Tower now, but as One World Trade Center. It's taller, stronger, simpler. Its base is a fortress, its crown a beacon. It reflects the sun in thousands of angles. Inside, offices, art, light. Above, an observatory with a view so vast you almost forget. But not quite, because at the base the water still falls, and below it the names still rest. The sky again. Manhattan's skyline continues to grow. New towers rise in Hudson Yards. Slender spires climb in Midtown. Glass needles stretch higher and higher. The city has not forgotten, but it has healed, quietly, imperfectly, tenderly, because that is what cities do, what people do. We mourn, we rebuild, we rise, and even in darkness, we reach for the sky. The rhythm of cultures, when the drum found many voices. Welcome back. You've walked through temples. You've stood in smoke and steel. You've felt silence settle over ash. Now, let's listen again, not to one drum, but to many, because the drum does not belong to one people. It belongs to all, in every corner of the earth, wherever hearts beat. Drums followed, but each land gave them a different name, a different voice, a different soul. Africa, the mother of sound. In West Africa, the djembe is carved from a single tree trunk. It's shaped like a chalice, topped with goatskin, and always, always handmade. To play it is to speak, not with fingers, but with the heart. The djembe tells stories, calls spirits, unites villages. Beside it, the dunun, deep and resonant, anchors the rhythm. When the drums play, the earth shakes, and the people move together, in joy, in grief, in ceremony. Here, rhythm is not performance, it is life. India, the language of the hand. Thousands of miles away in India, the tabla sings a different song. Two drums, one for the left hand, one for the right, each with a voice of its own. They do not thunder, they speak. Every stroke has a name. Ta, na, din, da. They are syllables, words, poetry in percussion. Used in classical music, religious chants, and sacred storytelling, the tabla doesn't command attention, it invites it. And in its patterns, you hear time not as numbers, but as waves. The Middle East, echoes of the desert. In the heat of the Middle East, the darbuka, or doumbek, shines beneath the sun. It's a goblet-shaped drum, often ceramic, and when played, it crackles with fire. Doom, tak, tak. The rhythm builds. It guides dancers into trance. It mimics the gallop of horses. It brings life to silence. Played with fingers, slaps, flicks. It's both wild and precise. And in its voice, you hear the pulse of caravans, the memory of oases, the echo of prayer at dusk. Japan, the power of the taiko. In Japan, the taiko is not subtle. It is thunder. Played in large ensembles, these drums shake the ground. They are carved from massive tree trunks, stretched with thick hides, beaten with full body force. Taiko is not just music, it's movement, discipline, ritual. Used in temples, festivals, and martial ceremonies, it represents strength, focus, harmony with nature. And when a group plays taiko together, they don't just make sound, they become one. Indonesia, the breath of the gamelan. Across the seas in Indonesia, the gamelan hums. It is not a drum alone, but an orchestra of metal and skin. Gongs, metallophones, drums. But the kendang, the main drum, leads it all. It signals when to start, when to stop, when to breathe. The rhythms here are not sharp. They are circular, endless, like rice paddies stretching to the horizon, like clouds turning over volcanoes. In Bali and Java, this music is the rhythm of the land, sacred, organic, timeless. The Americas, a fusion of blood and sound. In the Caribbean and Latin America, drums carry the legacy of pain and survival. The conga, the bongo, the timbale. They are the children of African rhythms and colonial resistance. In Cuba, Santeria priests drum to summon orishas, divine spirits. Each deity has its own rhythm, its own dance. In Brazil, the samba surges through the streets, hundreds of drums moving as one, telling a story older than the nation. In Colombia, the tambor alegre leads cumbia parades. These are not just instruments, they are memory of ancestors, of voyages, of prayers whispered in chains, and still they dance. North America, the drum of two worlds. In North America, the drum speaks two tongues. Among indigenous peoples, the powwow drum is sacred, large, round, surrounded by singers. It echoes through forests, across plains. Boom, boom, boom. It's not fast, but it is deep, steady as the mountains. Each beat is a footstep of an ancestor, each song a homecoming, and yet in cities another drum rises, the trap kit, jazz, blues, rock, hip-hop, born in struggle, forged in soul, propelled by rhythm, one drummer, four limbs, 1,000 voices. The tradition continued, reinvented, alive. Every culture, a rhythm. Look around the world and you'll find it. In Ireland, the bodhrán. In the Andes, the bombo. In the Amazon, water drums that echo with jungle breath. In Korea, the jangu. In Turkey, the davul. In Vietnam, the trong com. No matter the language, the gods, the borders, we all return to rhythm, to the first drum, the first heartbeat, the first breath, and your chest rises and falls, your breath finds a pattern. You are part of it too. You carry the oldest instrument right there beneath your ribs, and as you drift deeper tonight, you're not alone. You are connected to dancers in Brazil, to monks in Japan, to children clapping in Kenya. One rhythm, many hands, still playing, still pulsing, still human. The skyline reborn, building the future from the ashes. You're still here, floating softly between centuries, your breath steady, your thoughts distant, like the quiet wind between skyscrapers. We return now to Manhattan, not the Manhattan of 1811, not the steel hunger of the 1930s, not the smoke and silence of 2001, but to what came after, the rebirth, the reflection, the slow, careful act of building again, because cities, like people, grieve, change, and rise. One World Trade Center, the new crown. When One World Trade Center opened its doors in 2014, it wasn't just a building, it was a statement. At 1,776 feet tall, an intentional nod to the year of American independence, it became the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere. But unlike the Twin Towers it replaced, this skyscraper didn't shout. It shimmered. Its base, a fortress of steel and concrete. Its body, a glass prism that catches the sky. From every angle it reflects light, weather, clouds. The mood of the city. Inside, the walls speak softly. Art, memorials, spaces filled with light and silence. At the top, an observation deck, and beyond that, nothing but sky. The memorial below the tower, the 9/11 memorial remains. Two vast square voids, each almost an acre wide. Waterfalls cascade into darkness, a reminder that absence can be beautiful too. Around the edges, Bronze panels bear the names of the nearly 3,000 souls lost, not arranged alphabetically, but relationally. Friends beside friends, husbands near wives, firefighters with their units. It is a map of connection, of grief woven with memory. And though millions visit, each one walks quietly, because here silence speaks louder than sound. The new Manhattan, glass, grace, and ambition. But Manhattan did not stop at remembrance. Across the city, new towers rose like notes in a symphony. Hudson Yards, a new neighborhood of sleek buildings and elevated parks. Where trains once slept, glass giants now shimmer. 432 Park Avenue, thin as a pencil, soaring into the clouds. Luxury stacked in the sky. One Vanderbilt, a modern companion to Grand Central, merging past and future. These towers are different from their ancestors, not just taller, but smarter, built with sustainability, with purpose, with grace. They do not dominate the skyline, they dance in it, a city that never stops climbing. New York has always been a city of vertical dreams, but now it's dreaming differently. Less about conquest, more about connection, public spaces, green rooftops, buildings that breathe. The skyline still grows, but it curves, it softens, from the old stone of the Flatiron to the clean lines of the Seagram building, to the shimmering twists of new towers. Each structure is a sentence in the city's story, and that story is still being written. Remembering the roots. Even as new buildings rise, Manhattan remembers its past. The Empire State Building still stands, its spire glowing in celebration or sorrow. The Chrysler Building, with its Art Deco crown, remains untouched by time. And at the southern tip of the island, One World Trade Center stands alone, and not alone. It is surrounded by memory, by new towers, 3 WTC, 4 WTC, 7 WTC, each part of a healing mosaic. Together they whisper, "We're still here." The sky is not the limit. In the 21st century, architects talk not about height, but about light. How buildings shape neighborhoods, how they cast shadows, how they let the sky in. There's beauty in transparency, in openness, in understanding that the sky belongs to everyone. The skyline is no longer a race. It's a conversation between stone and steel, between glass and air, between people and place. The heartbeat of a city. As you drift deeper into rest, imagine standing on a rooftop, wind brushing your face, lights glowing below. You can hear it, not traffic, not sirens, but a rhythm, the steady pulse of a city that refuses to fall, a heartbeat made of footsteps, of stories, of hopes stacked floor by floor. each window a life, each light a wish. This is Manhattan, not just a place, but a feeling. You are part of it now, even if you've never stood there, even if you've never seen the skyline with your own eyes. You are connected to every hand that lifted steel, to every soul who dreamed of reaching higher, to every name etched in bronze, to every light still burning in the night. The skyline belongs to all of us because we are all climbing together. The final beat, when all stories become one. You're still with me, and you've come so far, through deserts and rivers, through drums and silence, through sacrifice and skyscrapers. And now, as you rest at the edge of sleep, we bring everything together, because history isn't just a collection of facts. It's a rhythm, a pulse, and tonight you've followed it from the beating sun of ancient Egypt to the sacred geometry of Teotihuacan, to the universal drumbeat of humanity, and into the sky-bound dreams of Manhattan. Everything we've seen, everything you've felt, it all flows to this moment, to this breath, to this heartbeat, to you. We are the rhythm. You may not remember the names, not all the gods, not every building, but what you do remember is the feeling, the sweat of Egyptian laborers, the silence beneath the temple of the serpent, the thunder of the djembe in an African dusk, the shimmer of glass on the skyline at dawn, and beneath it all, a beat, the same beat, because the pharaohs believed in order, the Mesoamericans in sacrifice, the drummers in the body, the architects in height, but all of them, every one, believed in rhythm, the human pulse. Think of everything you've seen: a child drumming on a hollow log, a worker bathing in the Nile, a priest sharpening obsidian for a ritual, a jazz drummer tapping a hi-hat in a smoky club, a skyscraper reaching toward the stars. Each of them is a moment, a breath, and each of them is you. You carry their rhythm. You carry their dust. You carry their dreams, because history isn't outside of you. It's inside, in your veins, your breath, your sleep, the temple, the drum, the tower. Remember the temple beneath the earth, the one with 200 bodies laid out in sacred geometry? That wasn't just death, it was belief that the universe had a pattern and that human life was part of it. Remember the drums echoing across Africa, Asia, and the Americas? That wasn't just music, it was memory. That sound could hold the soul of a people, that a beat could carry across generations. And remember the towers in Manhattan? That wasn't just architecture, it was a scent, a promise that even after fire, even after dust, we can rise. In the dark, still moving now, as your eyes grow heavier, Feel the rhythm slow, like the quiet tap of fingers on wood, like the hum of wind between buildings, like breath in the hush before dreaming. You're not moving, but your story is. It dances in the dark, carried by memory, held by rhythm. Every person who ever lived is there with you now, in the dust of pyramids, in the silence of names etched in bronze, in the beat beneath your ribs. You are history's quiet drum. You are not just a listener tonight. You are a note in the song, a spark in the flame, a breath in the choir. What you felt today, the sun, the stone, the sorrow, the light, it lives in you now, and tomorrow when you wake, the rhythm will still be there, waiting, pulsing, inviting you to listen again. And so you rest. There's nothing more you need to do. No more footsteps, no more stories. The journey has been made. The drums have quieted, the towers silhouetted, the river still. Let it all fade. Let the heartbeat of history carry you, and sleep, knowing you were part of it all. Good night, my friend.